This grand story begins in the room of a young writer who receives a call. And without looking away from the screen, he searches for his phone, picks it up, holds it with his head while answering. Before he can ask who's calling, the person on the other end interrogates him directly. "Do you have some goddamn problem?" The protagonist stands up, confused. The voice continues. "If the problem is with the editor, I can assign you a new one," they say. Or, "Are you unhappy with the contract terms, perhaps?" "No, no, 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 everything's fine," answers our protagonist. The man on the call seems to calm down and with evident relief begins to laugh. But suddenly he stops and says to him in a serious tone, "Well, that's very strange then." The protagonist begins to sweat, sensing that something is wrong. If everything is fine, why the hell do you keep doing the same nonsense over and over? Why the devil don't you follow the instructions as I tell them to you? If you're writing a story about a hunter, you should research hunters first. That's a basic requirement. The writer replies that yes, he did research, and that he came to the conclusion that currently what sells the most are protagonists with superpowers, with systems and those things, and that they be really overpowered. Also, very important that they have a harem of girls with no self-respect. "That's what you call your research?" asks the man on the phone. "Isn't it an excuse for the final bosses to die in one hit? Are your protagonists all Saitama?" Our young writer tries to justify that was simply to give it a faster and more refreshing development. So the reader feels the excitement. "Readers aren't stupid," answers the man on the phone. "You need to convince them with details and realistic developments. You can't just throw in the protagonist to say how cool his new move was and finish off the villain with a single blow. That's annoying, that tires you out. Besides, it's not the only thing that's wrong. The setting you described is." Well, after a long while, the protagonist's boss decides to end the call. That was enough explanation for today. Later, he would send the rest of the corrections by email. This time, you'll have to do it quite well. All the writer's work goes back into the trash, totally rejected. What exactly is the problem? Our protagonist asks himself. It was flowing so well when he was writing. He had the greatest feeling of personal fulfillment he'd ever had in his life. But then, why? Sunk in depression, the boy starts to think about everything he needs to improve. But the sound of the television snaps him out of his thoughts. The news reports that a monster has appeared in downtown Toronto. The Canadian government and several hunters are present on the scene, but they're still having problems according to the authorities. The incident will leave a large number of casualties and additional damage. The protagonist grabs his glasses and slowly takes them off. It seems he just found a new opportunity to investigate. We move to Toronto. The city is chaos. People run for their lives trying to flee from those gigantic beasts. Helicopters fly over the area trying to distract them. One of them has been hit and struck hard by one of the monsters. It's not one or two creatures. It's a whole horde of powerful monsters. A real invasion. The military forces fire relentlessly while trying to evacuate the civilians, as fast as possible. One of the soldiers shouts desperately, asks if the reinforcements have arrived yet. His comrades hurry to check the communications. "Hurry up, I don't know how long we can last without." A gigantic foot rises above them. Before they can finish the sentence, both scream terrified. Their death is in front of them. There's nothing left but to accept it and close their eyes because no one wants to see when they're crushed. But at that moment, a devastating bolt falls from the sky, impacting the monster directly and completely destroying the area. Both soldiers survive, of course, protected by a shield formed from the same power that annihilated the creature. They can't believe it. What just happened? They ask themselves. Up high, floating over the monster's corpse, is their savior, wrapped in an energy. Colossal, he looks like Goku. The monsters everywhere detect him, turn in the air, and launch themselves towards him at full speed. The blonde looks at them. They don't represent a threat even so. He must eliminate them. He charges his energy with a simple touch of his palm, unleashes a fierce attack, burning and pulverizing the creatures. The second monster stays in the air, expectant. It saw what happened and its instincts stop it. That matters little to the man, who raises his hand, charges his fingers with power, and then snaps them, sending a brutal wave that impacts the enemy, creating a huge and devastating explosion over the city. The military recompose themselves and are astonished, and they recognize their savior immediately. The civilians watch him and wonder, who is he? Is it a plane? Is it a dog? Is it a frog? A woman points a finger and shouts no. He is one of the two apostles, BrianStorm. The crowd begins to chant his name, over and over. BrianStorm, BrianStorm, he's a hero, their savior. But he, in the middle of that recognition, seems a little uncomfortable. Moments later, the boy lands on the roof of a nearby building. Once there, he takes his cell phone out of his pocket and checks his messages. His boss still insists. The story he writes must be more realistic. Nobody kills monsters in one hit. He sits down pensively. He doesn't understand. What does he mean it's not realistic? If he is capable of murdering monsters with a single blow, it works for him. He is a legendary hunter, and in case you haven't noticed, he is also another protagonist. The writer from a moment ago, the Emperor of Thunder, with a power that goes beyond human comprehension. His name crossed borders, known in every corner of the world, a legend among legends. Currently he has become an aspiring writer of hunter novels. Anyway, you have to eat. And this is aspiring writer. I think this Manhwa is called. One day, dimensional gates opened out of nowhere, without even giving people time to react, and the monsters emerged from them. Some tried to protect their loved ones, knowing they didn't have the strength to stop their destinies. But at the same time, some were lucky to be alongside them, people who awakened special abilities, the acclaimed hunters. They began to manifest all over the world. Thanks to the effort of those people, peace slowly returned to the planet. Then a greater challenge appeared before humanity, the Gate of Chaos. Even gathering the strength of countless hunters, it was an impossible mission to achieve. No one could seal it. Because of such a threat, civilization was on the brink of extinction. But it's then when the legendary hunters make their appearance. They are the 12 highest-ranked individuals in the entire world, those who possess the most colossal strength. These 12 individuals defeated the great calamity known as the Gate of Chaos, becoming the heroes who saved the world. They are called the 12 Apostles. Now let's go to a memory within another memory. Ha 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 ha. 80 hours have passed since these people entered the portal, and with this the last monster had fallen. You can consider your mission over. The apostles were gathered in front of the last enemy of the gate. One of the girls is exhausted. She doesn't want to fight again for a good while. The other woman thinks that if the Gate of Chaos opens every 100 years, it means this will be the last time the whole team gets together. Looking at her companions, she asks, "You already have in mind what you'll do from now on?" The small one answers that she will travel to Hawaii to rest. The handsome blonde mentions that he will take the opportunity to launch his advertising career. Another carefree one just wants to use the free time to focus on his inventions, while his companions discuss. Someone gets Brian's attention and asks him, "And you, Emperor of Thunder, what do you plan to do in the future?" The one asking is the old man of the group, sitting next to the protagonist, and mentions that things won't be easy. The power they possess is too much for anyone. Even the slightest mistake could unleash horrible consequences, so if you still feel lost, I can guide you. Would you like to search with me for the true path of a hunter? Nah, I'm going to retire, answers Brian, wanting to be a jerk, shattering all the illusions of the poor old man. All the others stop discussing upon hearing the protagonist's statements. Brian doesn't understand why the others are surprised. His companion asks him worried, "Are you really going to retire? And what are you supposed to do after this? If you're not a hunter, what will you do with your life?" "I'm going to write a book," Brian mutters. The others don't even hear him, and joyfully the boy repeats, "I'm going to be a web novel writer." And there ends the memory within the memory. Brian's rules for writing a book are as follows. Before starting to write, imagine yourself telling your story to a person in front of you. Do it and make sure they never get bored. Remember this well. In web novels, there are 3 super important things: fun, and fun again. 1 month after closing the Chaos Rift, Brian listens and passionately notes down every piece of advice from great writers. Finishing his study session, his companions get up to leave, while Brian thanks the teachings of the great James Patterson or something like that. He feels he was truly born to be a writer, and he will start his story right now. A story. He closes his laptop. His companions make fun of him. "Aren't you coming to drink with us after studying so hard?" Crying, Brian answers that his deadline is tomorrow. His good companions understand, and let the protagonist dedicate his time to work. He says goodbye to them. Brian thinks about how happy he feels this day. Maybe that thing she said yesterday part that with? But something behind him emerges from the drain. Tentacles of a monster. Sometime later, the waitress brings the order to the protagonist. With some concern, Brian had already drunk too much alcohol, and he, joyful without stopping writing, thanks the girl. While she tries to clean, he thinks, "I'm taking too long with this. I must finish soon." All right. Listening to a bit of music, it will help me concentrate better. He puts his headphones on at full volume. The monster manages to break through. And Brian saw through the glass that people are running and being thrown against the glass by the beast. He's almost done. He only needs the final line. This will be a marvelous book. Through all this, the monster finally sees him inside the shop. At the same time, the protagonist finishes writing his novel. A tentacle goes behind him, about to snatch his project. The attack sends everything flying, including the boy's drink and laptop. The shop is totally destroyed. And not only that, before the protagonist's shadow, all his work is lost in an instant. Let's see how he explains to his boss that a monster ate his homework. The monster launches another of its tentacles. With all the frustration in the world, Brian laments the loss of his master manuscript. Bloodthirsty, Brian uses his power electrocuting and charring the beast's tentacle, transforming into a kind of Super Saiyan. He slowly rises and punches the giant octopus out into the street. Stepping out of the shop annoyed, he says, "Damn, you're not escaping this." He stomps on it, orders it to wake up. He hasn't finished cooking it yet. A bolt falls powerfully without a woman screaming from fear. A young man is killed by the bolt coming out of nowhere. "This is crazy," says a woman watching her soap opera. Dramas are incredible when they have plot twists like these. This chick is Lucia Tai, rank S, and looking at her with total disappointment. Is her younger brother a high school student? Another name for Lucia is Yamakarmeshi, one of the most important and powerful rank S hunters in the world, captain of the 7th Division of Guardians, one of the highest-rated guilds. Not only that, she's one of the most delicate and exceptional beauties in the sense of fashion. She managed to become a superstar in the entire hunter world. However, who would think that this woman is the type who shrieks because they changed the channel on her? Apparently both are the protagonist's siblings. It's not made clear truthfully. She complains to her brother and asks him to give her back the remote. He's ruining her day off. Day off? Asks Yiu, "You're a damn lazy bum without a job. You spend all your time at home, at least help with the housework. If not, go exercise or something else." She was going to retort, but a cell phone alert surprises both. Breaking news. A gate appeared suddenly in the Mapo district. The area has been reclassified as a red zone. Civilians are advised to shelter in their homes. Citizens in the secondary area should evacuate immediately to their assigned shelters. Lucia gets up quickly. Yiu asks her if perhaps they called for her to go. Taking off her glasses, she says no, but she has to go anyway. The boy smiles. He thinks it's good that every once in a while she wants to do something, but picking up the clothes, he mentions that maybe it wouldn't be necessary for her to go out. "Why?" she asks. Yiu answers that, "Well, coincidentally, our domestic parasite went to run an errand near that area." Instead of epically slaughtering monsters, Brian finds himself sitting next to his computer, noticing that even the hard drive was broken. Bad luck. It didn't even occur to him to save a backup, and now his debut work is in shreds. Today was supposed to be his day. The first day of his work of art becoming a massive success. His dazzling appearance as the rookie writer, turning into a popular author and winning the Web Novel of the Year award, giving big conferences all over the world. It would be his golden age, and well, he imagined all that. He trembles with impotence. Brian suddenly screams. Exterminating a part of the octopus is not going to be enough to compensate for his great loss. "All right, worms, you messed with the wrong person." Furious, the protagonist immediately finds the boss of the monsters in the distance. As his lightning opens up, it's never been more aptly said, he launches himself over there to give it a beating. In that area, the army managed to finish off many of the monsters. The first unit reports that it secured the evacuation of civilians and the elimination of beasts. In the fourth unit, a soldier is anxious, but his comrade calms him. There shouldn't be many left. Another of them mentions that these monsters fell very easily. And yes, this one answers. It's all due to the great strength of the captain. It was to be expected coming from that man, captain of the 4th Emergency Division. Siak, rank A enough chatter, says this one, "Get ready, the boss will come out in a moment." One of the soldiers answers that it wasn't necessary. A gate boss, rank A, shouldn't be a threat. Siak, on the other hand, thinks that letting your guard down always brings problems, and they shouldn't relax so much. A great shadow, you never know where there might be an enemy ambush. They must maintain their formation, and the boss appears over the buildings. A huge hydra that covered all the military with its shadow. It launches a heavy attack against the soldiers, who dodge it at the last moment. They can't believe that a hydra came out of a rank A gate, but not everyone manages to react or see it. Impacted. The remains of his comrades scattered. He was right. They shouldn't have let their guard down. Alert. The boss has appeared. Hydra, triple a rank. All the military attack the boss with everything they have. It looks at them and with a quick movement attacks them, destroying the building. Siak is worried. This boss shouldn't appear in a rank A gate. There was a sudden change of the gate. They need to ask for reinforcements. If not, the Hydra charges its attack looking at the wounded soldiers. Siak won't be able to stop it. It's a boss and it's no joke. The soldiers hug each other in terror. The end. But what is happening? They don't understand. It's their captain, Siak, who has protected them with a barrier. Siak is badly injured. Even so, there's no time to stand still. We must buy time for the reinforcements to save us. This damn thing. A single one of its heads has overwhelming power. If all 9 attack at once, it would be impossible to survive. He spits blood, takes his weapon to stay standing. He can't give up. He prepares, breaks the floor beneath him, jumps over the boss, he thinks. As long as there are people to save, he will fight with all his strength. He hits the boss with his mace. It falls with force and destroys the entire area. After landing his blow, Siak looks worried. His attack had only reached 2 of the heads, and that unfortunately only means one thing. Siak reacts quickly, but he is tired from the attack of one of the heads, sending him flying, almost killing him. He barely manages to survive. He can't die here if that damn thing stays alive. It's going to destroy the whole city. The Hydra charges a gigantic attack, using all the heads it has left. Siak grits his teeth and spits blood. He can't do anything anymore, he has no strength. But at that moment a huge electrical attack destroys the Hydra's ability in a blink. Siak opens his eyes wide. He couldn't believe it, then he sees it. Someone descends from the sky surrounded by lightning, landing on the huge boss. His golden hair and his great Kai like Goku, well, like Goku, we should call him Goku. Siak can't help but think, is he a god? The protagonist has found the boss. He asks it if it understands its sins. He demands that it give a believable excuse with one of its many mouths. The heads just get scared and sweat upon seeing the protagonist's strength, but 4 of them gathering courage launch themselves at him. Brian isn't surprised. It was to be expected. He must teach this damn thing a lesson, says the protagonist. He sends his open hand. There he slaps the gigantic head while screaming, "My computer. My first novel, everything was erased because of you. How are you going to compensate me?" The protagonist easily crushed most of the heads, seeing the 3 remaining. The protagonist charges power in his fingers, and confused he shouts, "You ruined my debut, destroying the boss into 1,000 pieces." Brian descends before the final explosion, and returning to his base state. He still curses angrily. He begins to withdraw from the scene, wondering how he will solve his problems. He doesn't have enough time to write everything again. Minutes later, the survivors begin to get up when they found Siak. They shouted and ran worried towards him. Luckily, he is still alive. One of the soldiers calls his comrade so he can see the boss. Surprisingly, it was dead, those marks. There's only one person capable of leaving them there. Both turn with their mouths open. They can't believe it. Their captain Siak managed to finish off a Hydra alone. On the news, they report how it's going for the first time in 2 years. A rank gate was generated out of nowhere. The final boss was a triple rank Hydra, and despite being alone with his unit, this man being a rank hunter, faced and finished off the monster by himself. Of course, they are talking about Captain Siak, also known as Bulldozer. Siak tries to explain that he wasn't the one who killed that thing, but the reporter continues without giving him a chance. The video of the Hydra extermination surpassed 100 million views in a few hours. Unfortunately, it is expected that Mr. Siak will remain in recovery for at least 14 weeks. He received long-term injuries. Therefore, he also won't be able to give an interview or explain to us how he feels. According to doctors, his vocal cords were damaged during the battle, due to the screams and insults he launched during the encounter. A television is turned off. We move to a guild meeting, Chumohamu or Chuomu or something like that. They debate about recruiting Hunter Siak. Because of his great feat, some disagree. That man was only rank A, even so not many have such power. Perhaps he will soon rise to rank S. Lucia internally curses Brian. What the hell was he thinking making such a commotion? Now everyone thinks poor Siak was responsible. And if this man discovers who really did it, it would be a big problem. The man in question speaks, asking the others if they really believed Siak defeated the beast. He doesn't believe it one bit. This is the guild master of Chuomu, Guso, S-rank hunter. Lucia goes off. The guy figured it out instantly. Guso, with a smile, asks the woman if perhaps she doesn't think the same. Lucia plays dumb and asks for an explanation. Guso stands up saying, "Don't think a Hydra would be defeated by an A-rank hunter," looking at the monster's corpse. He suspects it was someone else, someone who disappeared from one moment to the next, and now decides to show himself again, whispering to himself. He names the protagonist. Very soon he will go see him in person, Emperor of Thunder. On the other hand, Brian is fearful about the situation he's in. He is sitting in front of a man while this one reads and looks up. He speaks with the protagonist. Brian gets excited. The man hits the table. The man tells him no. Once again, he had failed in his writing. He is editor Co, the one in charge of the Galable publishing house or something like that. To be honest, he tells him the setting is good. But again, every monster dies in one hit. That's a great flaw. The readers won't be able to immerse themselves, and they will lose interest in the story. Brian worries. It was the best he could do, and he put all his effort into it. Co interrupts him reading his story. The Chimera's brain explodes like censorship, and splatters like censorship. What the hell is that? Co sighs disappointed. He wasn't asking for more realistic descriptions. Look, take this as an example. He tells him putting the news in front of Brian, and a rank hunter. Finished off a Hydra by himself, and almost died. Imagine it the simple average rank man, risking his life to protect civilians. The shadow of a man who doesn't give up takes his weapon, willing to give his life. His comrades worry. They shout that it's too dangerous. While the man heads to battle. How fierce was the battle? No one knows, but people got a feeling of excitement from it. Everyone will remember that hunter's name, even if they didn't witness it. They feel they were there. They get so excited that they end up creating fan groups. Empathy and immersion, that's what realism is. The speech leaves Brian stunned, who bows apologizing. He had never thought of it that way. Ko sighs pensively, and decides to give the protagonist one last chance, within a week. Brian is overjoyed, bowing thanking him for the opportunity. Ko closed the door behind him, warns, if this time you don't deliver and it's still a boring novel, you must be ready for contract cancellation. Brian, hearing that, is terrified. He just started and doesn't want to lose his contract. A scream is heard from an apartment. It's Brian, who is tired of so much writing. Jun calls him a fucking lazy bum. The protagonist throws himself on the floor moaning, and the sound annoys his companion, who slaps him hard to shut the hell up. What happened this time? He asks Jun or Ijun, whatever his name is. What is he supposed to do? Answers Brian, one more mistake, and he's going to be fired. After explaining the situation to Ijun, this one answers, okay, now I understand. If you do it wrong again, they'll take the job from you, so you need a realistic story, just your weak point in writing. Brian affirms, embarrassed. What did you write before? Asks Ijun. The protagonist asks him to listen carefully, and reads that a horde of Ranka monsters was annihilated with a single attack. And they told me that wasn't realistic, my god, as if it were a rank S monster. Ijun sighs, and scratching his head, asks Brian if he ever had a real fight. Of course I have, you imbecile, answers the protagonist, when, during the opening of the Gate of Chaos, he fought non-stop for 70 hours against beasts of destruction. Ijun thinks about it, coming to the conclusion that it's a bad example for the novel. Brian doesn't understand, so he explains, how many legendary hunters are there? Asks Ijun. 12. Answers the protagonist. Then there you have your answer. Few people can feel related to those stories, because not everyone is as powerful as them. More than half the world barely reaches rank F, or see, even those who reach rank A can barely make money in peace. Of course, all of them compared to an S rank, they are nothing. An S rank has the power to place themselves above large corporations. Being an S rank brings enormous status. So fewer people identify with your novel because of that, because it's about an S rank. People usually identify with that protagonist who starts from the bottom, being the weakest, and who becomes strong little by little, or something like that. Did you only read Leverly? So if you want. Well, he didn't say that, but it's the same. So if you want to make that type of story, being who you are, you must research. Research, you damn lazy bum. Research. Observe the normal hunters. But where? Asks Brian. He isn't even a hunter right now. And Jun wants to abandon him to his fate, but the protagonist begs for help, pushing him away, and Jun complains about him being an idiot. If he wanted, he could go to the president of the Hunter Association, and he would receive anything. You're the damn Emperor of Thunder, one of the strongest people in the world. Ah, that's right, says Brian, that piece of animal. Using my name can give me an advantage. Going straight to the Hunter Association. Dehan, president of the Hunter Association, shouts annoyed. This is unacceptable, even with tears unpleasantness. We have successfully carried out national operations, demonstrating the efficiency of our training program, not to mention that when a French city was in danger. We gave a lot of support, saving lives. Even Germany requested our help, Han, and even with all that, they reject our application to be promoted to rank A. Interrupting him, a chubby guy answers. The reason is very simple. You in Korea don't have a legendary hunter. This is Allah Ak, president of the Indian Association. There are 11 nations that can back legendary hunters. You don't have one, especially when your Emperor of Thunder retires out of nowhere. Ha! How can a country mismanage its hunters to the point that an overwhelming powerhouse disappears for no reason? Dehang explains that hunter BrianStorm retired by personal decision. Enough excuses, Allah Ak interrupts. I repeat for the last time, without legendary hunters, a nation cannot be first tier. Dehang asks that they at least accept Korea as a tier 2 nation. The debate about Korea's tier is finalized with another meeting. For today we're done. Good work everyone else. And so the meeting ends. Dehang can't believe it. They totally belittle Korea, any resemblance to reality. Ha 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 ha. Mere coincidence. Damn sons of bitches, they have no shame. They accept our help, and then they turn their backs on us. His assistant tries to calm him down, reminding him he has more things to do. What's on the agenda? Asks Dehang, answering the question. The assistant reminds him that the Scorpion Guild responded to the cooperation request, but maybe you should consider it, since I have a rumor, since it's a guild that attacks its rivals from the shadows. Maybe they want to use the association to monopolize high-level gates. Listen, whoa. Answers D-Hang, let's not be a Korean who is called whoa. But let's say yes, we are the Korean Association. Every guild that becomes popular, we must recognize it and meet with it. But if internally they think the opposite, the Scorpion Guild seems to be just a gang of thugs that will cause problems. Cut to a corner. The security guards run desperately towards the entrance. D-Hang asks the security chief what the problem is. He informs him someone is trying to see you, says he's the son of the owner of a shop or something like that. D-Hang finds it somewhat comical. It wasn't the first time a kid thought he was important. Yes, you're right, sir. Besides, no one knows him, says his shop is called Brian's Appliances. Sorry, asks D-Hang. Impacted, thinks those words, the son of Brian's Appliances, it can't be. Brian's Appliances, electricity. Brian plus electricity, the Emperor of Thunder, no doubt. It was the legendary Hunter. At full speed, the president runs to the elevator, but it was broken, orders security to leave the boy alone, and runs out through the emergency stairs. A car parks outside the association. Out of it comes Jin, master of the Scorpion Guild, impressed by the luxurious building, to which he was summoned. Entering the reception, his assistant sucks up to him for having gotten D-Hang himself to want to meet him, of course. Answers Jin, with all the help my guild offers, it was obvious I would be called at some point. D-Hang manages to arrive intact looking for him. Jin is surprised by the enthusiasm. He didn't expect the president to give him such a welcome. Get out of the way, you piece of trash. D-Hang tells him you don't know who you're blocking. Jin is left lying on the floor, completely confused. While D-Hang apologizes effusively to Brian, the protagonist, happy about the greetings from the worried man. But even so, D-Hang explains that he was late receiving the message, and that's why he delayed in coming to receive him. He asks what the reason is for his return. Nothing important. Answers the protagonist, he just came to discuss something. D-Hang hears that he begins to fantasize the great return of legendary hunter BrianStorm. Finally, it would be the perfect news to increase the nation's status from the Inca Empire. I would like you to give me a tour, asks Brian. Of course, shouts D-Hang. Right now we'll organize a what? A GRRR. A what? Okay, no, but if you ask a what do you mean by a tour? The protagonist answers excitedly, yes, he's looking for a tour to see low-rank hunters in action. Extending his hand, he has changed, he will return the favor, as you wish, old man. Moments later, D-Hang speaks with Brian. So, to make the contract clear, if the association helps you with your research data, you will support us again as BrianStorm, right? The protagonist confirms. That's what he said, since there was no better way to study hunters, but there is. Interrupts D-Hang, in fact. There's a perfect job for what you're looking for. Gate assistant. Brian doesn't know what kind of job that is, and D-Hang explains to him gate assistant is a role usually performed by rank F hunters. They collect the loot from the conquered gate and secure escape routes for emergencies. On rare occasions, they enter combat. Although this almost never happens normally, they just sit and wait for the monsters to fall. And tell me, dear BrianStorm, isn't it perfect for observing others? Brian is fascinated by the idea. He had never heard of anyone performing such labor. D-Hang understands he would never have noticed it, since no assistant could have accompanied him due to the high danger of the missions Brian performed. Brian thanks him, satisfied he couldn't have got anything better. Send me the details to Brian's Appliances. Saying goodbye, the protagonist shoots out like a bolt of lightning from the offices. D-Hang's assistant thinks the boy's personality is a bit clumsy. Watch your words, says D-Hang. He is a bit unusual, but he is still the hope of all Korea. Every day, the protagonist arrives at the gates of the Gawa Guild, ready to study all the real aspects of being a hunter. To finish his novel, he enters greeting enthusiastically. But inside, he finds something unexpected. Everything was a mess. One of the men notices Brian's presence and wakes his companion, who gets up scared by the appearance of a chaos gate. But it was just a dream, seeing the protagonist at the entrance. He approaches to greet him, and Brian takes mental notes of what a real guild is like. Nice to meet you. I'm Agustin. The guild's name is Amansei-sung. Brian also introduces himself. Agustin shows him the place. Right now, it was just him and his companion. There are a total of 3 participants. Brian asks where the third one is, and the man answers that he is temporarily transferred. Dreamer. Brian thinks he refers to how the 12 apostles did it, each in their country. Agustin asks him to take a seat, regretting that the protagonist ended up there. Brian asks what he means, preparing to take notes. The other member answers him, can't you see the offices are a mess? We were always rank C, so we're poor, we survive day to day. But in fact, quite the opposite. Brian speaks. He thinks it's great that these two get along too. He feels a great bond for having shared a lot of time together, proud Agustin answers. That indeed it is that way. He is also sick of seeing his companion's face, who feels the same. Brian can't help. But imagine these two in his head. With a typical movie scene, Agustin and his companion are surprised by the point of view that an F-rank hunter has about them. Rank C. Brian excitedly praises the team's camaraderie. Their teamwork must be incredible. Guys, when will we go to a gate? A gate? Ah, no, 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 we here don't do that. We're not going anywhere. Brian freezes. What do you mean we're not going to do that? You're a hunter guild, right? Agustin says yes, as such they are, but being low rank, they are usually not taken into account, and what are they supposed to do then? Asks the protagonist, but thinking better. Gates don't open every day. This is true realism. He asks them to give him any mission. He will carry it out, anyway, taking advantage of this. The other guy asks him to clean the place. Agustin shouts, "Don't be an idiot today, you should clean." Brian accepts the mission, saying, "Yes, sir." He will clean the whole place thoroughly. He thinks he will find what he's looking for before the week ends, and he'll leave to finish his novel. The countdown begins for Brian's contract. Cancellation day 6. Brian returns excited to investigate. Agustin asks him if he wanted to clean today. Day 5. Brian returns to the guild happy and asks if any gate was generated that day, but no. His companion answers him if that were the case, they wouldn't be standing around doing nothing. Then what will I do today? Asks the poor dreamer, but of course. They put him to clean the windows all day. Day 3. Brian enters exhausted, and the first thing he sees is Agustin handing him his tool, literally. They are sending him to clean. Day 2. Finally, he realizes he's screwed. The first day was decent, but the whole week he has cleaned, he hasn't even been able to touch a manuscript, not a single word. Has he been able to write in the offices of another building? A man who stayed late working editor co. The protagonist's boss, someone, offers him a cup of coffee, and a colleague asks him what he's doing so late again. Is it because of that rookie again? Yes, answers co. He's doing his report on his novels with doubt. His colleague asks him the reason why the great writer co, whose works always end up on top, brought in a rookie who isn't even that good at writing. I don't know. Answers the editor, his writing is somewhat strange, as if he were desperate doing it. Maybe he does have a very good idea and doesn't know how to express it. But anyway, this is the last time I'll wait for him. Day 1. Last day before contract cancellation. Brian is screwed. He hasn't written a single line. Brian, aspiring web novel writer, currently observes the rank C guild. Amon Saesung with the aim of investigating and writing his novel realistically. How is it going for him? Well, he did nothing, and today is the delivery day. Entering depression, Brian knows he is doomed, ruined, and screwed. What if they get angry with him? Will they forbid him from being a writer, right? Interrupting his anxiety attack, Agustin and the other guy enter to warn him that he must prepare his things. A gate appeared, and they will go on an emergency. Brian turns pale from confusion, euphoric. He asks if it's really about closing a gate. He will finally be able to analyze and truly study hunter combats. Today is the day he will be able to make his novel. Looking at his companion, he alerts, why do they have long faces instead of being excited? The guy answers that the problem is that it's a rank B gate. The protagonist doesn't understand. Isn't that one of the easy ones? No, 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 answers the guy. We are rank C. It's impossible for us to do it alone. We are going to organize among 3 guilds to achieve it. Brian asks what the problem with this is. This way it would be less dangerous. Agustin answers that yes, to a certain point it is, but the big problem isn't the gate's rank, but the other guilds that will go. We move to the gate. Well, it's called the Sokang Wang Wang Gate, and all the guilds are gathered in front of the gate. The other guy we're going to call Matthew complains about the location. Yes, we'll call him Matthew because they never give us the name, but Agustin doesn't mind. After all its work, however, he has no idea what Brian was doing. Jumping, seeing rocks, and interviewing hunters both agree that the protagonist was totally crazy. Well, look who arrived, interrupts Ricardo, the bear master of the Vulgan Guild. Agustin already knows him and doesn't like him one bit. One of Vulgan's members directly mocks Agustin's people. Ricardo intervenes, don't bother him. There's no one who trains rookies better, so they end up going to other guilds. Matthew steps in to defend his friend. How is it that your guild is so ill-mannered? He slaps Ricardo's flabby pectorals. After all, your members when they trained with us didn't weigh as much as you. Hello, Mother of God. Seems you're very daring, answers Ricardo, but Matthew continues, you're just a giant baby with lots of hair. Between laughs, another guild master interrupts the discussion, says it's incredible. A fight between invalids, 2 useless guys fighting. This is Mantis, leader of the Rion Guild, And why don't you stop wasting energy? When the time comes to enter, you'll do nothing but get in the way. If you're tired, make sure to give good support otherwise. We won't leave you even the scraps. Rian is amazed by the scene, a confrontation of rivals. Before entering the gate, definitely something he must put in his novel. Hitting the unknown notepad, he asks the protagonist to introduce himself instead of talking nonsense nowadays. All rookies are really dinner for the monsters. Rian looks at him as if he were going to eat him alive. The stranger is terrified, but the protagonist plays dumb. Yes. Yes. Sorry, it's a pleasure to work with you two. Doing and grabbing. Rian is surprised that there's even an ego fight among the gate assistants. Agustin calls him to stop wasting time. They must enter right now, so all the guilds begin to cross the portal or the gate inside. Enormous wolves are the main monsters. Agustin loads his sword on his shoulder and attacks. But amid mockery, his prey is stolen by someone else. Agustin grabs him, annoyed. What the hell are you doing? I was about to cut you. Be more careful, the chubby guy answers. If you didn't like it, you should be faster with your sword. We don't have to go at your pace, damn turtle. Matthew cuts a wolf from a distance, mentions that it was about time to finish off the minions, but Ricardo attacks him treacherously, sending him flying. Says sarcastically, sorry. Sorry, I didn't see you were there, says sarcastically, while killing the wolf. Brian is confused. This is supposed to be the realistic way hunters fight. It's a damn senseless chaos. They fight more among themselves than against the monsters. They attack each other, steal prey, accidentally cut each other. It's the first time I've seen such an absurd battle. What damn fun. Says Mantis, having the monopoly of the gate is incredible. This way we can create the strategy. And these monkeys just have to obey us to participate. They finish off the annoying minions, and we take care of the final boss. And look. Speaking of the King of Rome, the gate boss makes its entrance, a mutant wolf. All those from the Mantis Guild prepare to fight. Mantis says that once they take down the creature, his guild could get the promotion to rank B. We are not like the other worms here, he shouts, jumping into battle. All his guild follows him, and attacks from various angles distract the beast. Mantis rises in the air and cuts the boss multiple times, feels it fall dead, and Mantis stomps on it, claiming victory. It feels incredible that such an easy monster is going to improve my standard of living. Now no one will underestimate us. We did it. A fierce roar silences him. In front of him appears the true boss of the gate. Screw you, shit. The boss tells him. Everyone falls silent without reacting. An undead wolf, Ricardo, is about to piss himself. A monster came out of nowhere. Brian thinks it looks a lot like the garbage hellhounds that come out of Rank S gates, driving in its paw. The boss takes momentum and cuts more than a dozen men from Mantis's clan, making them into pieces. This same one doesn't react. He can't believe it. He is bathed in the blood of his comrades. Run. The gate is changing. Everyone shouts while trying to escape. Gate changes. It's basically when the gate's rank is suddenly increased, you know. We've seen that 20,000 times since it appeared in Solo Level Up. They've burned it because of the surprise appearance of some higher-level monster. Matthew trembles just seeing the new boss, Rank A. An insurmountable wall of talent that even dozens of Rank B can't overcome together. It was crazy. Of all the possibilities, just the gate has a change. When it's full of Rank C and F hunters, the survival possibilities for them are nil. As if they were common civilians, they are going to be massacred. The slaughter breaks out. No one is capable of resisting even one attack from the boss. And its minions, the hunters, hurry to escape. -1 Mantis, the man who was about to achieve Rank B, remains. Pensive amid the chaos, he squeezes his sword, remembered everything he had to do, but gets his chance that now is frustrated. He launches himself furiously against the boss. Refusing to surrender, he is hit and thrown through the rocks. All the others run from the beasts. It wasn't just the undead. Each wolf is an enormous danger. Even the fastest are caught. Others no longer have a chance to survive, while the worst push. Others get control. Everyone stops upon seeing him. Agustin shouts, gate changes are automatically notified. The association will soon come to rescue us. We have to run and hide. Until they get here, I will buy as much time as I can. You guys leave. Everyone is left speechless by Agustin's bravery. While fleeing, they apologize for leaving him behind. Many have families to return to. Agustin knows he can't win against the boss, but he is sure he can distract it for at least a few seconds. He is willing to buy enough time for the others. Stop doing stupid things. Matthew interrupts him. A little more drama, and you'll surely cry. Since we've reached this point, let's do it together. Are you sure? Yes, answers Matthew. It's not like I have anyone waiting for me while the monsters advance. Agustin calls Brian. You have to get out of here too. Don't stay with us. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you in this danger. Hurry up and get out of here now. I understand. Thinks the protagonist. Many people have no choice but to run for their lives. Some of them are destined not to make it and fall. But even so, this is the realism I was looking for to write my novel A Battlefield, where people fight to the death to survive using his power. Brian thinks everyone Matthew and Agustin are thrown away like garbage. They couldn't even graze the boss they were fighting together. Until a bolt passes over them, it's the rookie from the guild. Brian enters his second form. He has finished his investigation. And to return the favor, he points at the boss with his ability Thunderous Roulette. At 5% 2 giant thunderbolts fall on the army of wolves, finishing all of them. Agustin doesn't understand anything at all. What the hell did I just see? He asks himself. Brian turns to see them. Hey, what you did was great, guys. Thank you very much for teaching me to behind you, shouts Agustin. Brian dodges the boss and says he learned a lot being with them. Now both recognize the Emperor of Thunder. But the protagonist has time to lose saying goodbye. He asks them to keep the secret. You never saw me here. Agreed, friends, go heal your wounds, they shout, leaving the scene. What the hell just happened? Both men ask themselves. Behind them, the reinforcements had arrived. Although a bit late during the rest of the day, the news has been reported about the incident. Although something else was bothering Brian's boss was at 9:59 p.m., and the damn guy still hadn't delivered a novel. A notification arrives on the editor's phone. He looks at it quickly. And yes, it was from the protagonist. Damn lazy bum. He delivered it at the last minute like all of us, when we did homework checking the novel. Hope. It's at least well done. Something catches his attention. Hurried, he finishes reading it, and is left thinking, is this a joke, right? To be honest, it's quite good. Several days later, taking a breath, a man shouts in the middle of the street, announcing his return. A child asks about the man, but the mother prevents her son from looking at the stranger. The guy talks to himself. They are going to be very surprised now that I'm rank C. Half a year has passed since I was sent to rank B guilds to train. I went through very difficult trials that hindered my path, but I managed to overcome them after hard trainings. Day and night I met. Surpass my limits. Finally, I had done it. He stopped being a rank D hunter. A good home brings fortune. Goodbye, Choi the useless. Hello, Choi the rank C. Choi arrives at the offices of the Amon-Se-Sung Guild, but he asks himself, why is it so quiet? Did they prepare a surprise party for him? Will it be funny to see him cry for his return? He opens the door excited, but inside there's only the protagonist with a dumb face. At first they don't ask, who are you? Brian introduces himself as a gate assistant, and immediately Choi lets himself go, thinking he is poor rank F. Yes, something like that, says Brian, but he is interrupted. I just got promoted to rank C. As you see, since I am your superior, I'm going to teach you a couple of things. Brian doesn't understand anything where this damn madman came from walking. Matthew can't believe that all this time they made the Emperor of Thunder clean their offices non-stop. Agustin takes him by the shoulder, telling him, relax. Rest in peace. Very soon we won't see you again. What the hell are you saying? Asks Matthew, you also made him clean. If he murders me, you'll come with me. Neither understands why someone of so many renowns joined such a poor guild. At least they could have gotten some autographs before he left this world. Matthew says, if he had stayed with us, we could have gone to high-rank gates and improve everything, rising in rank. Of course not. Damn animal. Don't be stupid, shouts Agustin. Matthew doesn't understand why, and his friend explains to him. Didn't you see how dangerous the last mission was? How do you think we could go and survive even worse gates? Gate changes happen because they react according to the hunters, and how many they keep. What happened was, because Brian was present with us, no matter what rank gates we enter, we will always be in danger. If one of the strongest in the world goes with us, we don't have the level, and besides, I have a family to take care of. Get away from my face. Answers Matthew. Obviously, he's not going to join. I was just talking in a hypothetical case. Meanwhile, the damn Choi makes Brian repeat after him. The world is hard. F-rank hunters are worthless. And proudly, Choi tells Brian, you're lucky to have met me, rookie. I'll teach you the true path to glory. Brian doesn't understand anything, but he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep investigating. Choi sees his old companions behind him, who begin to stare at him without understanding anything. He is quickly fascinated by the situation, grateful to be in such an interesting place. Here comes a mini flashback. During his meeting with editor Ko, the latter congratulates him for having achieved realism in his novel. The greed of the people, the hell of the battle, the courage of the protagonist to sacrifice himself. The rawness of the scene is very moving. If you continue improving like this, launching your debut won't be complicated. He just said debut, asks Brian. Fuck, yes, he thinks he heard correctly. His opportunity is getting closer. End of flashback. But the protagonist made the best decision by staying that way. He will continue gathering information for his novels. Agustin and Mateo stop upon seeing him, wondering What was he writing with that evil aura? According to him, he's not writing their names in the notebook for the god of death. Both tremble terrified when the protagonist mentions he forgot to give them certain things. He advances toward them as if he were, I don't know, a yo-yo character. Agustin begs for his life, but the protagonist only hands them a permit. Now that Choi had returned, the guild was complete. With this permit, you'll be able to raid gates. Let's show everyone what we're capable of, shouts Choi, but Mateo continues beating him up while Agustin asks Brian if perhaps. Yes, responds the protagonist. I would like to officially join the Amon-Se-Sang Guild and go with you. Both are stunned by the bomb he dropped. Brian can't believe it. They left Choi outside as if he were a dog to talk privately with Brian, who after a few minutes finishes explaining his reasons for joining the guild. Agustin says he understands the protagonist's reasons, but it seems too much to him that such a great eminence like him would join a rank C guild. Let him join, says Mateo. Agustin tells him, this is a serious matter. I am talking totally seriously. Remember when we started the guild? We were just 5 fools who started as a game. Then we were 10, then 20, and then we were more. They were years of fun, dreams, and goals. But as Ricardo said, people began to leave once reality became harder. Eventually, we stopped believing and resigned ourselves to the life we have now. But deep down, you still cling to those dreams, right? Because that's what I want to help. Right now, the person in front of us isn't the Emperor of Thunder, BrianStorm, but a boy chasing his own dreams. And honestly, it's a brutal opportunity for us. Don't you think it would be our last bullet, our last dance? For the good of the guild, so let's do it. He won't join as BrianStorm, but only as Brian, Gate assistant and web novel writer. Agustin thinks seriously. This reminds him of 2 very clear and important images for him. He sighs happily and speaks. Brian, it's a pleasure for us to accept you as a member of the guild. Outside the offices, a van is parked. Inside, a man speaks on the phone saying he's sure. That assistant the guild master mentioned? We just found him. Brian was talking to himself out loud, writing his novel, impressed with himself and how he managed to create emotional dialogue. The employees don't understand what he's doing. For hours, he's been muttering to himself and talking alone. They would have thrown him out if he weren't buying dozens of drinks. Someone else enters the cafe and is received with respect, but both employees suddenly fall silent. It's Guzu, S-rank hunter. I need to speak with that young man. Could you leave us alone? You will be fairly compensated for the trouble. The manager, seeing the money, immediately accepts, leaving the cafe just for them. Guzu walks toward Brian while his security blocks everything present. You've been running from me all this time, but finally we meet again. His great murderous aura is noticed by the protagonist. He takes off his headphones and finds himself face to face with Guzu, who smiles. We still have unfinished business. In case you don't remember, Emperor of Thunder. How have you been all this time, my crazy one, my little rebel? A long time passes as he hugs him as if he were a doll. Brian wants to break free, but the old man squeezes harder. A warning spark pushes him away. The protagonist seriously asks to be left alone to write in peace. Guzu isn't surprised that he's still so fussy. This time you won't avoid me so easily, young man, he says, taking a seat. And why not? Responds Brian, annoying the old man. You are a damn weasel. Since you retired, you don't answer a single one of my calls. Brian angrily adds, I'm sick of you. You called me all day, even in the middle of the night. You called me while I was shitting, eating, having breakfast. You called me at all hours. How many hours of sleep did I lose because of you? Guzu responds, of course, if you had answered even once, I would have stopped calling. That's no way to treat your grandfather. You're not even my real grandfather. We're not related by blood. Brian doesn't care. They already talked and he's busy with his work, so he kicks the old man out. Guzu accepts leaving, but he needed to know one thing. Why did you decide to come out of retirement as a hunter? Brian totally ignores him. He has no choice but to use his last resource. Hey, Brian, remember those sneakers you asked me about? I'll tell you what I found out. They were designed by someone from our guild, an ultra-limited edition of only 100 units. The best hunters have tried everything to get theirs. If I still managed to get 3 for you. It was extremely difficult. They even accused me of abusing my power for being the guild's CEO. Shut the fuck up. I get it, says Brian, annoyed. He tells him that he uses the assistant job to investigate. He reached an agreement with D-Han and returned as a hunter only for that. Guzu doesn't understand why he went with the association president and not the Suhamun Guild. Brian responds that he needed to search for realism. The old man asks, what does that mean? A macabre smile comes from the protagonist as he explains philosophically. How could the powerful think they could come to understand the realistic aspects of the weak? I don't know what the hell that means, but you still have to investigate more, right? Join my guild. You'll be my successor, and I'll help you with everything necessary. I already have a guild, and I don't want to be your successor. Guzu gets angry and lets out a small gasp, but doesn't take it badly. Well, I guess I lost this round. It seems I'll have to buy the fabulous guild that recruited the Emperor of Thunder. Don't fuck around, responds Brian. I just joined and I don't want the trouble. Sure, sure, says the old man. You know what? There's no need to worry. But Brian listens attentively. And now what? Asks the protagonist. Guzu seriously explains to him, even if you go incognito, sooner or later they'll find out who you are, and it could end up being dangerous. Brian clearly isn't worried. He's incredibly strong, but Guzu adds, I'm not referring to you but to the guys around you. They won't be as safe. And remembering the past, Guzu thinks about Brian's situation when it didn't seem so colorful. Rather, it seemed sad and depressed. And so, what were you going to tell me? And he pops his gum. Observing him, Guzu notices small differences regarding his past and is happy about it. Playfully, he asks him to have fun and work hard. They'll be waiting for you at the Suhamun Guild. But I already told you I'm not joining, responds the protagonist. Guzu turns around, pleasantly happy. Finally, dear Brian, you really look like you're living again. Leaving the cafe, the old man asks the secretary, King, how much money had I spent last time to buy a chain of cafes? Around $1 billion, sir. Guzu asks how much it would cost to acquire an advertising company. He gets in the car without waiting for an answer and departs from the place. Meanwhile, a man speaks on the phone with the person looking for the protagonist. Jin, master of the Scorpion Guild, doesn't understand how a nobody like Brian can meet with the president of the Korea Association. Haha, and now with Guzu of the Suhamun Guild, being a damn rank F weight, shouts Jin. Guzu treats him as if he were his grandson. Could the rumor be true? Don't fuck with me. On the other end of the call, the man reports that the protagonist is leaving the cafe and initiates the mission. No, you damn imbeciles. Cancel the assassination right now. Don't kill this guy. That brat is the grandson of. Well, something strange is going on. What the hell did you just do? You're fucked. The man on the call drops his phone, impacted, and runs off in panic, shouting that he had no idea he was the grandson of the great Guzu. The shooters were injured, but that's not enough. That had to be enough, they say until they see the protagonist as if nothing had happened. They don't understand how he can still be alive. Is he a monster? One of them steps out to finish the job. His companion calms him. He must be weakened from the impact. Can we do it? Brian is disgusted by the smoke. No wonder his mother told him not to cross the street while looking at his phone. Both assassins jump on him, but Brian dodges them with ease. The protagonist brings his hand close, already sparking, and connects two great attacks. The hitmen fall defeated, emitting smoke from their bodies. They didn't predict the overwhelming power of their target. Brian returns to his most worried state. Maybe he used too much power and doesn't want to be arrested. Had anyone seen him? But no, everyone was focused on old Gu. At least the grandfather is useful sometimes, thinks the boy anyway. Why would these hunters come for him? It's not like he owes money to anyone. The best would be to ask D-Han directly. When the medics collected the assassins, Brian immediately went to the association president. He apologized to the protagonist as he didn't think that guild would be capable of playing so dirty. They've totally crossed the line. So you know them? Asks Brian. D-Han responds that unfortunately, yes. They are part of a problematic guild, a bunch of animals. D falls silent when Brian releases a bit of his power upon getting angry. D-Han explains that they were hunters from the Scorpion Guild. For some years after your retirement, the association had many problems, and it was this type of guild that ended up providing funds. And Jin is known for doing any kind of thing for his benefit. But if he realized, you ended up humiliating him the day you returned to the association. Due to your position, he would have decided to go after you instead. A wave of power released by Brian. D-Han feels the pressure. Just being near, he feels his heart could burst. It wasn't a game. It's incredible power, very abusive. This is Hunter BrianStorm. D-Han tries to calm the protagonist. You don't have to worry about your acquaintances. I swear I will make sure to give them the best protection. But Brian isn't listening. He only thinks about the excitement, about the madness that is the reality of hunters. They don't just kill each other inside the gates, but outside them too. Brian returns to Bay State and shouts that it would be great if the protagonist of his novel developed in a similar situation. He asks D-Han not to interfere. D asks if he's serious. Yes, shouts Brian. It's going to be something very interesting. Elsewhere, Jin shouts angrily. They're useless. I told them to stop, but no. And to top it off, not only did they fail, but they ended up in an ambulance. One of the hitmen tries to blame his companion and receives a direct blow to the face, sent flying. Stop making excuses. Jin can't believe that the representatives of his guild can't finish off one person. Everyone bows asking for forgiveness, but Jin isn't interested. He thinks the assassination itself wasn't the problem, but that Gu Zhu, the master of one of the four great guilds, would know the news. He wouldn't stand idly by. The assassin thinks there's no more option than to finish what they started. He asks about the protagonist's guild. The guild, Amonsaesung, barely formed by 4 people. To Jin it seems perfect. He mentions, it's weak, and we can buy all the gates in which he participates. Let's make it so no one wants that kid on their team. What's more, let's go for everything. Find those who live, his family, his friends, and find someone. Leaving the store, Lucy complains because she had to buy ice cream in the middle of the night. She takes out her cell phone to search for a movie to watch once she gets home, but behind her appear 2 men who surprise and subdue her to kidnap her. They throw her inside a van. Lucy is shocked. She knows it's a kidnapping, although she doesn't understand why. Could it be because of her great beauty? And we will leave you here, guys and girls.